Welcome back, everybody. Mark again with Exotic Car Play Place. You can see me standing here today in front of my Lamborghini. And you have to ask, okay, what is the situation today? Today, we are going to address the fact that I own a cheap Lamborghini. What do you mean by cheap Lamborghini? I don't think there is such a true, the term isn't really true through and through, of course. But what I am standing in front of is my 2005 Lamborghini Gallardo. And you have to start asking yourself, are these cars becoming bargains? Well, I would say yes. And this one here, because it's not a special model, we're not talking about a Superleggera. It's not a late model LP with super low Ks on it. This is a 2005 with about 40,000 kilometers to 22,000 miles or so. And because of that, it's pretty garden variety. It's an E-Gear car. It's a great car. It's super clean. But because there's a lot of these cars produced in the time that Lamborghini made them, this car doesn't stand out heads and tails above many others. And so I am actually proud to say I own a cheap Lamborghini. Is this the cheapest car in the country? It's not the cheapest, although it's very close. And I'm going to walk you through what a cheap Lamborghini is all about in this country. How much is the cheapest Lamborghini in my country, which is Canada? And of course, I know a lot of the American cars you can get for a little bit less money than what I'm going to show you. But of course, you must understand the exchange rate is quite a bit different. And just, incorporate that exchange rate. Do a quick Google and you can figure out what an exchange rate looks like. But at the end of the day, I will show you what the cheapest Lamborghini is for cost in Canada. And I'll show you with reference to mine. Mine is a cheap Lamborghini, and I'm actually proud to say that, but it's not a junky car. Mine is a very nice, super clean car with reasonable mileage, and it runs perfectly. So I'm going to show you what the lowest end is, and I'm going to show you what my car costs with reference to some of the others. Okay, let's take a look. So let's take a look at some of these examples. I'm going to show you. Let's open up the laptop here and take a look. So here, initially, you have to put in your postal code. I selected national, so you're getting the full gambit. Then, of course, we scroll down. You see Lamborghini Gallardo. We picked those two. Obviously, we're trying to narrow in. And I'm going to select under $130,000 cars. Of course, there's lots more above that. First one is an 04 for 130K. Mileage is a little bit lower than mine, but it is an 04. And of course, some of those early cars had bearing issues as well. Here's another 04 with 53,000 kilometers, and they want 130,000. Now here's a special deal. Here's an 04. Again, not the greatest, but because it's a 6-speed, it's nice, and it's got low Ks, 129 grand. Then we move on and we see mine, an 05 for 128. It's the first 05 we've come across with reasonable mileage, and an 04 here again with higher miles. Another 04 with 22,000 for $125,000 plus GST, I might add. And then we have an 07, but look at the mileage on this. 73,000 kilometers, it's huge. And that for $125,000. Then we move to an 06. This is a nicer deal, but you've got to love the red color. The 06, then we have here, look at the mileage on that. That's pretty high already. And an 04 here, that's got decent mileage, but again, we're in a standard coupe, 110 grand. And then look at this, an 04, 91,000 kilometers for 105 grand. Now talk about some excessive miles on that car. It is inspiring though. Obviously, that's where Audi comes in. They created a car and engineered a car that would last the time. Basically last for the mileage. And that one has almost 100,000 kilometers, which is 60,000 miles. Then we look at mine here. So here's my ad. I just zoom in. So here's my ad. This is my car, actually. Just scrolling through some of the pics. Super clean car, as you can tell. Nothing wrong here. Look at the seats. The bolsters show the wear often in a lot of these cars, but these ones are solid. So a very clean car, a 2005 with relatively low miles for $128,000. So as you can see, mine falls smack dab in the middle there. Yeah, there's some newer ones. There were some 06s and whatnot in there, but those cars there actually had quite a bit more miles on them and, some other factors. Not to mention, traditionally, if you look at Canada, the East Coast, typically the cars are a little less money anyway than they are on the West Coast, because a lot of the road conditions there are worse. They use a lot more salt, there's a lot more corrosion in the vehicles, and it's just a known fact. Doesn't mean they're bad cars. It does mean that, you know, the general cost of living is higher up there. The average salary earners are a little bit lower on average in the East than they are in the West, and of course that drives prices down. As an overall, that places my cheap Lamborghini right in the smack dab in the middle of things. Obviously, at $128,000 asking price, that's not a lot of money. Okay, it's like you see an ad for, you know, for a retailer for selling homes. A lot of times they'll be selling, you know, a bunch of homes in an area, and they'll give you list price from. Well, that from price is often the price to get you in the door. And no difference is here. There's cars that are at that lower price point, and it's a good way to get in as an entry level. But mine isn't quite entry level, and so it places mine in the cheap category, but it's certainly not the entry level car, as the mileage is certainly reasonable. The car is super clean cosmetically. Those are all key factors when you're shopping for these cars. So you don't want to wind up with a car that has huge mileage, lots of problems, and then you find yourself spending more time and money than the car is possibly worth. So everybody, I just want to introduce you again, the cheap Lamborghini discussion. Is mine a cheap Lambo? Like I said, you can start getting into big 4x4 jacked up diesel pickup trucks for not much less than this. You know, again, whatever floats your boat, but at the end of the day, it doesn't mean you have to necessarily break the bank. A lot of you guys out there maybe have that kind of money to buy a car like this and never really considered. Maybe you want to go buy that brand new BMW or the brand new Mercedes. Some good selection there, absolutely. There's some great technology in modern day cars. But they're not supercars. And if you want to get into the supercar world, why not get into a cheap Lamborghini like an 04, 05, some 06s? A good way to get into the supercar world, into a relatively affordable and relatively reliable supercar, the Lamborghini Gallardo. So everybody, I hope you enjoyed the video. Just a little feedback as to what the cheapest car is in the country, and mine is pretty close to that. So I just want to, you know, kind of let you guys know what you know, if that's something that you've been looking at, what you can expect to pay in the Canadian market here today. We know the US market, there's cars that can be had for $60,000 and $70,000. Usually there's a substantial amount of work. There's another YouTuber right now obviously going through a very, very large amount of work right now on his car. He bought a Spider, but he has a lot of work ahead of him. And if he wasn't doing a lot of the work himself, he'd find himself, you know, in dire straits, as a lot of potential owners do if they can't wrench themselves. So again, everybody, make sure you give my video a like, comment for sure, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below and let me know that you want to see more of my content. Of course, in the comments, don't forget to let me know if there's something else you'd like to see in the Lamborghini or the BMWs. Just let me know. I'll be sure to help you out. I'd love to share it with you, and we'll talk to you guys real soon on the next one. Thanks again. Mark here, checking out with Exotic Car Play Place. Bye-bye.